Okay, so welcome to the Laruan ni Obi-Wan Kit Bash table where the magic happens. Okay, so the topic for this video is going to be do-it-yourself slings and chin straps for your helmet for your 1:12 scale action figures, primarily your G.I. Joe classified series action figures. So let's set up the philosophy of use. So it's going to be primarily for looks. Number one reason why, for looks, to provide one form of realism to your action figure build. And secondary, it's going to be retention. So that accessory, either a helmet or weapon system, is going to stay in place on your action figure. The helmet is not going to fall off the head. The rifle is going to stay on the back, on the side of the action figure if you wish to have an action pose either with a knife or a secondary firearm such as a pistol. Okay, so let's discuss materials needed. So for do-it-yourself helmets, chin straps, or rifle retention systems or weapon sling. Okay, elastic cordage, because you have that rubbery retention, and it's not too thin, not too thick, just right. Okay, next thing is a pair of cutting materials like scissor or a exact knife. Next thing is going to be super glue, a torch, and sewing material. So needle and thread. Okay, so needle and thread, which I'm going to discuss later on. Options. Okay, so reasons for using elastic cordage. Go directly to using elastic cordage for strings and straps. So there are other materials out there, but this has enough elasticity and at the same time rigidity. So for projects like chin straps for your helmet, it's easier to put on that helmet and put off that helmet with an elastic cordage because it's just going to stretch. With a non-elastic material like a ribbon, once you pull off the helmet, it's going to detach on the side. So that is going to be the simplest explanation why this stuff works for 1:12 scale. Now for retention systems for your rifle, this has enough elasticity and rigidity. Of course, if you sling it on the back of the action figure, if it's going to be that ribbon or leather material, well, it's going to play around a lot. And if just the right amount of elasticity, you place it on the side of the action figure, it's going to stay in place and it's going to look good. Just for example, with this. So this weapon system has elastic cordage on it. So in a flight pose like this, well, it's going to stay in place and it's not going to play around a lot. Okay, so that is the reason why I go directly to this kind of material. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that you would need a torch. So that is for securing the end of the elastic cordage. Because if you're not going to burn that end, as you move material around, make a knot of some sort, or use needle and thread, this is what's going to happen. As you stretch out material, it's going to loosen up. So if you wound it in a knot, it's going to loosen up. If you use thread and material, somehow the flayed ends is going to reach the knot where you used your thread and needle. So it's just going to be that very simple explanation. So best way is to cut, make a clean cut, and burn. Okay, for rifles, my preferred method of sling type for rifles, it's going to be the 2-point system. It's not going to be a single system. So single system, that's the laziest system at all, wherein you're just going to do something like this. So that is a single point system. Actually, in reality, that is also a system that I don't use. So why? Because you only have a single point of contact with the rifle, so your rifle is going to swing around. Now for posability, that is also not going to work because you need that rifle to fall in a certain position, for example in a flight stand like this. So if it's just going to be a single point sling or single contact sling, so just imagine that rifle is going to be dangling around. It's not going to look good. So for 1:12 scale action figure or kit bash action figure builds, a 2-point sling system, one for the barrel side and one for the stock side, works. So something like this. So point A, point B, very nice and secure. Okay, so let's discuss about how to mount the 2-point system on your 1:12 scale rifle like this. tricky. Okay, now if you have a bigger weapon platform such as this, so the easiest way is going to drill a two holes, one on the barrel side and one on the stock side. So of course you're going to need your drill, so use the smallest drill and jam this material in that hole. So just use an X-Acto blade or a needle to do so. So it's going to take a little bit of time to really stuff the sling material in, but it's going to look good anyway. So patience when you do this thing. So there's no easy shortcut to do actually good things, but you have to somehow give time or process for the build. Okay, so very easy, wherein you just make 2 holes, jam the material in, and make a knot. And after making a knot, so stretch the material out and burn. So same thing that you're going to do with the other side. So jam the material in and farthest away from the plastic material and burn. Okay, so that's method number 1. Well, the easiest mounting system is going to be once you jam that material in, or in whatever space there is on the 1:12 scale weapon platform. So for example like this, the most traditional way that rookie action figure kit bashers or customizers would do is to jump it through that space and put a little bit of super glue on that end and pinch. So that is the easiest way to do it if you have space on the rifle or the weapon system. But if you really like to do it fancy snazzy, then method number A I already explained. There you go. So nice and simple and sturdy and isn't very visible on the weapons platform. Next thing, well, not using the super glue method is to do this. Okay, so if you don't wish to ruin a 1:12 scale weapon system like this, wherein it really looks nice, so having holes on the stock of the rifle on the backstop, buttstock is not an option. It's going to ruin the rifle system. So doing a simple nut like this, so for example, just on this section, so as you could see, these 2 points, they provide some form of retention, and actually you could move that knotted portion around on this side, on this side, on this side. So it's just going to be the simplest method. Make a knot and make sure to really wound it tight to provide tension. So make a knot, and once you've made that knot, cut off as much excess material you could get off. And with the use of the super glue, so just mount it on a platform like this. So this is a action figure stand, so could even double it as a platform for the glue material. So dab a little bit of glue material, and with an X-Acto knife or whatever material you used to use, just dab a little bit on the end, and on the splayed end of the nut, just add a little bit of super glue. There you go. And make sure that the super glue does not touch the stock or the fore end of the rifle. So as you could see, that thing is super glued. And once it dries up, you could take your scissors and cut off excess material, so it would look more good, or actually more realistic. There you go. So it's tied on this end and on that end. Very, very simple, as long as it's a very tight nut and it's going to stay in place. So actually this nut, you still have that option of moving it around. So I put it on the bipod section, so actually it still does not interfere with the bipod motion for the rifle system, so it still works. Okay, next thing is going to be the material, elastic cordage material, with the use of, where did it roll off, the thread and the needle. Okay, so thread and needle combo. So let's take this as an example. So just measure the right amount of length that you wish to use, and I'm going to explain that also later on. And very simple, So as you could see, just make a very simple nut. So just be artistic with how you make that nut, and with regards to the length of the thread that you wish to use. So as you could see, you could still have that option of moving the sling around, and it's going to fall nicely on the rifle system. So it's not going to be very rigid. But you still have that retention system, like for example this one. So as you could see on a flight post, this is still nice and staple, and as you could see, that is using a thread material. So I made use of the gas block, and I bored a hole on the buttstock of the rifle, and I sewed it on the sling on the elastic cordage. That's it, to provide realism, and the build is very clean. So that's the reason why if you wish not to bore holes on your rifles or machine gun or machine guns in 1:12 scale, threading material is your best friend. Because, so for example, you take the case of this, wherein I'm going to place a sling system on this later on. So if you wish not to make a hole, so take a look at that. So on any part of the barrel or on the fore end, you could have that material on, and just make a nut, and with the excess cordage, you could sew it onto the elastic cordage. So same thing that you're going to do with the buttstock. So very, very invisible, right? So you could have it farthest end, or even if you see those ridges, you could place it on that position, and it's still going to hold into place, or on the nearest position, and it's very, very invisible. Yep. Okay, so I hope that helps with regards to your DIY. Oh, I failed to mention. Okay, so with regards to the proper length of material that you're going to use, so very simple method that I use. So with your action figure, just measure this way. So with the length, so actually I do this often, so just under the armpit. So that is the material that you would need. And because you're going to work with the material in securing it onto the weapons platform, you would need at least additional 1.5 inches. So from this position, I would give an excess of about 1.5 and cut on this section. So that way I have enough clearance to work on a weapons platform for 1:12 scale. So that is the very simple method of providing slings or straps to your G.I. Joe Classified Series action figure builds. So if you like this review, like, comment, and subscribe to help me grow my channel. And see you on the next action figure or custom action figure review.